Welcome to Ghoul Talk.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris A. and welcome to Ghoul Talk. Ghoul Talk is a quick, digestible way to demystify, debunk some politically loaded phrases, talking points, symbols, things like that. This is not a deep dive, it's not academically rigorous. If you're looking for that, you can look somewhere else. This is really just meant to be kind of a conversation between me and you, the viewer. So today we're going to be talking about whataboutism. And you can kind of think of it as, the both sides argument. And generally it is done in bad faith. I think just like with any rhetorical device, you can use it in a good way, but you can also use it in a bad way. And mostly I'm going to be talking about the bad faith use of whataboutism. So a great example is a lot of folks are comparing the attack on the U.S. Capitol to the 3% of violent protests last summer. And I think it's okay to compare things like that, as long as we're able to do so honestly. What I mean by that is, if I say, well, there were some similarities because they were both violent protests, which although I do not condone necessarily, I understand that violent protest is a fundamental part of this country's founding. But if you're trying to compare the two and say that this wrong thing happened and that makes this wrong thing okay to happen, that's where it becomes problematic. Because, obviously that's just two wrongs don't make a right. That's pretty straightforward. So I think what frustrates me about whataboutism is it is so often done dishonestly, and it is so often just a distraction technique. So an example of whataboutism would be, Donald Trump's policy on separating migrant families. And a lot of people say, well, what about when Obama did it? And the answer should be, yeah, it was also bad when Obama did it. And that's why I say that it's kind of a dishonest rhetorical device, because it doesn't change the fact that what's happening now is happening now just by pointing out that something similar happened in the past. Especially when the person who is being whatabouted it concedes that point. I agree that it was bad when Obama dropped bombs in the Middle East, just like it's bad when Trump does it, just like it'll be bad when Biden doesn't. As a rhetorical device, it's pretty weak because it so often doesn't accomplish what it's trying to accomplish. With the attack on the Capitol, we saw a lot of people saying, what about what happened with Black Lives Matter? And I think it's okay to make that comparison because, again, we're comparing violent protest to violent protest. But so often, kind of the subtext there is, well, I didn't like it when your side did it, but now you don't like it when my side does it. So, and there's really no, like what is the point that you're trying to make? Is the point that you're trying to make that both things are bad, or that both things are good, or that one is bad and one is not? So both sides is definitely related to whataboutism, but often it's less confrontational. A prime example would be what one of my commenters described as teaching the controversy. And the example they give is intelligent design versus evolution. So this is the idea that because some people believe in intelligent design, even though there is no evidence unique to that belief, children should be taught it to know that it's out there. And I'm going to take an extreme example. We don't teach children eugenics, even though there are people out there that believe in that. And I know that's an extreme example, but the point I'm getting at is not all beliefs are equally founded in reality. And it's okay to be discriminating against beliefs in that sense. If you flipped on the TV and you saw a news anchor say that Adolf Hitler or Osama bin Laden was bad, they are technically not being impartial. They are making a value judgment on a person. They are not presenting both sides. But obviously we're not objecting to that, or at least most of us don't, because, we can't just treat everyone's beliefs equally, because then we end up with people like Donald Trump. This is kind of like this participation trophy mentality that weirdly gets blamed on millennials, even though it was really baby boomers who pushed this idea on millennials when they were raising them. Anyway, but it's this participation trophy idea where just because you have a belief means it deserves to be heard. And that's just simply not the case. We shouldn't prop up bad ideas. Not necessarily that we should silence people, but there's no reason for intelligent design to appear in a science textbook. And this attitude has blown up to the point where so often you hear pro-Trump people saying, yeah, well, 75 million people voted for Trump and they want him to be president. And that may be true, but he lost the election. More people voted for Biden. So you don't get what you want just because you want it, especially in an organized society. So another example of whataboutism, and both sides for that matter, is, what about her emails? So often during the 2016 election, we heard, what about her emails? And there were plenty of studies, because Hillary Clinton really had only a few kind of blemishes on her record. Now, we can debate what exactly I mean by that. But what I mean is, as far as like scandals, she really only had Benghazi and the emails. With Trump, of course, he had the Hollywood Access tape, dozens of sexual assault allegations. I should mention that Hillary Clinton's husband was also a liability in that aspect. But Donald Trump had all these scandals, but in the interest of fairness, because he had so many scandals to talk about, the mainstream news media did a pretty good job of inflating the importance of the email gate. It's a very kind of esoteric inside baseball scandal to be concerned with, which I'm not saying those things aren't important, but, to equate one email scandal with dozens of sexual assault allegations, that's what we have to do when we're trying to both sides it. So you have this candidate who is, uniquely unqualified to be president, has all these terrible things in his past, has a history of white supremacy, history of sexual assault. But because he's been nominated by the Republican Party, he's got to be equal to the nominee of the Democratic Party. And that's just not the case. Like, we should be able to accept that some people are less qualified. But again, we kind of have this participation trophy mentality that ends up benefiting people like Donald Trump, who are, he's a loser. He lost the popular vote, but he still got to be president. He lost the popular vote again and still hasn't conceded as of, 2 days before the next inauguration. But people still prop him up as a viable person. So thanks for watching. This has been Ghoul Talk with Chris A. If you like it, make sure you give it a like, comment. If you want to see more, subscribe, ring the bell, post it around Reddit, Discord, you know the deal. And I'll see you in a little bit.